Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah! As some of you may know, I'm JP Jordan, Touchstone Theater's artistic director. This evening's performance is partly a companion piece to an event we held back in July. We had an event called Songs of Hope and Resistance. This is Tales of Hope and Resistance. And at that event, we unveiled a music video and a song, Lehigh Valley Be Free. Was anybody here for that? Yeah, nice. And so that was written by our own streaming wizard. He's downstairs somewhere, Mike Duck. And I wanted to let you all know that as of this week, is available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. So we're making our way out there in the world. Bethlehem's got a place. If you haven't heard it, check it out. For those that don't know much about Festival UnBound, if this is your first time at a Festival UnBound event, we started the festival last year to explore where we've come as a community since the Steel closed. And we were looking at how we as a community, as citizens, can have agency in dictating the future of Bethlehem and not just let it roll down and be told what's going to happen. How can we have a voice in that? But tonight, we're going to do something different than look to the future. We're going to look to the past. And so our evening begins with the one and only Mr. Seamus Kennedy, here to my left. And so this event for Seamus may look a little different than what you're maybe used to seeing him play over at the Celtic Classic. Tonight, Seamus will be foregoing the Rattling Bog and songs about whiskey in jars. And instead, we'll be digging into the the wide canon of Irish rebel music. Songs from a would-be independent nation that never gave up hope, and through pure determination and a sense of identity were able to throw off the shackles of its oppressor and become the republic it is today. Let's hear for Ireland, everybody. Up Mayo. Following Seamus, we will take a brief break, and when we come back, our Touchstone Ensemble apprentices will reach further back in history, pulling from tales of long, long ago, and will bring to life through puppetry the stories of our ancestors from around the globe, and see that even in our modern times, there is wisdom to be gained by occasionally looking backwards. So, before we begin, some housekeeping notes. 1. Don't forget to like us on the socials, both Festival UnBound and Touchstone. 2, if you haven't heard, there is a pandemic happening. Please be sure to keep your masks on when you're up from your table for any reason. Not just on the chin, not below the nose, fully up. One of the reasons you may want to get up from that table is to use the potty. It's up that driveway and in through the front of the building. As always, please keep your cell phones on silent, even though you're out there. We can still hear them ring up here. And a special thank you to all of our sponsors up there. And a very special thank you to somebody who's been a great partner throughout Festival UnBound. Chaz from Molly's over there. Folks, he's been awesome to us. Look, restaurants are part of the fabric of our community, so buy local and buy often. Go to Molly's. I do. Nice. Next week, we have coming up Dictators for Dummies and More, where you will get to see an amazing recreation of a show from 2 seasons ago here at Touchstone that I think Christopher Shore's back there in the back of the stand-in guard. Christopher wrote a piece, and he's reinvented the entire thing to now happen on screen with action figures. It is definitely worth checking out and will be voiced by the original cast. That night will also feature some music from the archives of Touchstone. Those that are familiar with some of our other works, Voodoo, if you guys know this piece. And yeah, we're bringing a little bit of the Pan show out as well. And we'll be doing some songs from those 2 shows as pre-show to the unveiling of the Dictators for Dummies movie. I think that's it. Thanks again for being here, folks. And if we can put our hands together for Seamus Kennedy. Thanks for being here, Seamus.
JP, thank you so much for asking me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And everybody associated with Touchstone Theater, thank you. Well, it's great to be back in Bethlehem. I missed Music Fest this year, and I missed the Celtic Classic. It's been over a year since I've been here. My goodness, and Godfrey, I didn't get to Godfrey's this year either. But a totally different show from what you normally catch me doing over at the Celtic Classic and Music Fest. This is a show about songs of resistance from Ireland, and I've got 3 particular eras: the 1798 rebellion, and then we have the 1916 Easter Rising rebellion. That was Ireland's real first baby steps towards independence from England. And then, of course, the recent unpleasantness, or as we so euphemistically call them, the Troubles. So we're going to do a little bit from each of those. It's great to be back here again. Anyway, before that, I actually, since I'm on a balcony, I wanted to do Juliet's speech from Romeo and Juliet. But since this is songs about war and rebellion, I figured I would do Henry VIII's speech from the Battle of Harfleur. Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the blood, stiffen the sinew, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard favored. You're not really interested. Oh, there's a train. Oh my God. Sorry, when I hear a train, I have to do a train song. From the grade. No, I said I wasn't going to do any funny stuff. No, I can't help myself. When I hear a train, I have to do a train song. You want to hear it? Yes. All right. From the great Atlantic Ocean to the wide Pacific shore, from the queen of the flowing mountains to the south belt by the moor. She's mighty tall and handsome, known quite well by all. She's a combination on the Wabash Cannonball. So listen to the jingle, to the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodlands over hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo's squall. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. She rolled in from Birmingham one cold December day. As she pulled into the station, you could hear all the people say, there's a gal from Tennessee, she's long and tall. She rolled in from Birmingham on the Wabash Cannonball. So listen to the jingle, to the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodlands over hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo's squall. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Okay, it's out of my system now. Right, I'm going to take you back to 1798, and there aren't many here who would actually remember 1798. Maybe one of the old guys down the back. But the rebellion was started by Ulster Protestants, believe it or not, Presbyterians, who were an oppressed group in Ireland at the time. The High Church, the Church of England, which ultimately became the Church of Ireland, but it was the same group, it was the Anglicans. They were the ones in charge, and they suppressed all the other Protestant as well as Catholic minorities who came in. And a lot of the Presbyterians were farmers, and they didn't want to be giving up all their crops and taxes to the English without any representation at all. They didn't have any votes. So they decided to rebel against England, and they enlisted the aid of a lot of the Catholics. People tend to forget, and especially nowadays, that the original rebels were Ulster Protestants, not like today. So I'm going to do a song about a couple of them. The first one was a man called Henry Joy McCracken, and he was from my home county of County Antrim. There were two distinct headquarters for the 1798 rebellion, County Antrim and Wexford down south. There were a few in County Down just south of Belfast, but weren't a whole heck of a lot. But Wexford and Antrim were the two headquarters. An Ulster man I am proud to be, from the Antrim glens I come. Although I labour by the sea, I followed fife and drum. I have heard the martial tramp of men, I've seen them fight and die. Lads, I well remember when I followed Henry Joy. I pulled my boat in from the sea, and I hid my sails away. I hung my nets upon a tree, and I scanned the moonlit bay. The boys were out, the redcoats too. I kissed my wife goodbye, and through the glade, 'neath the greenwood shade, I followed Henry Joy. It was for Ireland's cause we fought, for home and sire we bled. Though our swords were true, our hearts beat true, until many's a man lay dead. And many's a lassie missed her lad, and mother mourned her boy. For youth was strong in that dashing throng that followed Henry Joy. They built a tree in Belfast town, and the redcoats mustered there. I watched him come as the beat of a drum rang out from the barrack square. He kissed his sister and went aloft, then waved a last goodbye. Oh my God, he died. I turned and I cried, they have murdered Henry Joy. Thank you so much. The next rebel I'm going to sing about was a fella from County Antrim as well. His name was Roddy McCorley, and he lived in the little town of Toom, or some people call it Toom Bridge, on the shores of Lough Neagh in County Antrim. And he was hanged on the bridge of Toom for his part in that particular rebellion. I mentioned earlier that it was the Protestants who wanted to be separate from England. Unlike nowadays, they want to remain affiliated with the English. And the English didn't like this, the British government didn't like this, so they sent in the redcoats and the army to suppress the rebellion. And they basically did a number on Wexford, and there was a big battle in County Antrim and another one in County Down. And the rebels lost both, unfortunately. Roddy McCorley was turned in by a cousin of his who turned him in for reward. You find that a lot, by the way, when there's rebellions. The leaders are turned in by turncoats, which, and to this day in Ireland, the most hated thing in all of Ireland is an informer. I suppose that's true anywhere. There's a great movie, 1930s, starring Victor McLaglen, and it was directed by John Ford and won an Oscar for Victor McLaglen. I think it got the Oscar for the best movie that year. It's called The Informer, about an IRA informer in Dublin back in the 20s. Check it out, it's a good one. See the fleet-foot host of men, they speed with faces wan, from farmstead and from fishers caught along the banks of Bann. They come with vengeance in their eyes, too late are they, for young Roddy McCorley goes to die on the bridge of Toom today. Up that narrow street he stepped, smiling, proud and young. About the hemp-robe on his neck the golden ringlets clung. There was many a tear in his blue eyes, though bright and sad are they, for young Roddy McCorley goes to die on the bridge of Toom today. There's never a one of all your dead who bravely fell in fray than he who marches to his death on the bridge of Toom today. True to the last, he treads the upward way, and Roddy McCorley goes to die on the bridge of Toom today. Young Roddy McCorley goes to die on the bridge of Toom today. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to move down south for a little one here. There was a gentleman in Dublin during the 1798 rebellion. His name was Napper Tandy. And even though he himself really didn't partake in the actual rebellion, he was a sympathizer and he helped out many of the rebels. They loved him. There was a song called The Wearing of the Green. It was forbidden by the English that Irish people should wear green because of the nationalistic influence, or that they should speak the Gaelic language. And the the English did this a lot wherever they went. In Canada, for instance, they suppressed the natives, the Indians, from using their own language. And when they went to India, the same thing. Don't speak Indian, speak English. And they did the same in Ireland. And this song is called The Wearing of the Green. And then right after that, I'm going to go into another song called The Rising of the Moon. And The Rising of the Moon was the timing signal for a little bit of a rebellion to start. This is from County Longford. Oh, Paddy dear, and did you hear the news that's going round? The shamrock is by law forbid to grow on Irish ground. St. Patrick's Day no more we'll keep, her colours can't be seen. For there's a cruel law against the wearing of the green. Yes, the wearing of the green, the wearing of the green. There's a cruel law against the wearing of the green. I met with Napper Tandy, and he shook me by the hand, saying, how is dear old Ireland, and how does she stand? She's the most distressful country that ever yet was seen, for they're hanging men and women for the wearing of the green. For the wearing of the green, the wearing of the green. They're hanging men and women for the wearing of the green. Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, tell me why you hurry so. Hush a buachael, hush and listen, and his cheeks were all aglow. I bear orders from the captain, get you ready quick and soon, for the pikes must be together at the rising of the moon. At the rising of the moon, at the rising of the moon. For the pikes must be together at the rising of the moon. Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, where the gathering is to be. At the old spot by the river, right well known to you and me. One word more for signal token, whistle out a marching tune. With your pike upon your shoulder, at the rising of the moon. At the rising of the moon, at the rising of the moon. With your pike upon your shoulder, at the rising of the moon. Out from many a mud-wall cabin, eyes were watching through the night. Many a manly heart was beating for the blessed morning light. Murmurs rang along the valley like the banshee's lonely croon, and 1,000 blades were flashing by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon, and 1,000 blades were flashing by the rising of the moon. There beside that singing river, that dark mass of men was seen. Far above their shining weapons hung their own beloved green. Death to every foe and traitor, forward strike the marching tune. And her army boys for freedom, 'tis the rising of the moon. 'Tis the rising of the moon, 'tis the rising of the moon. And her army boys for freedom, 'tis the rising of the moon. Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, where the gathering is to be. At the old spot by the river, right well known to you and me. One more word for signal token, whistle out a marching tune. With your pike upon your shoulder, at the rising of the moon. At the rising of the moon, at the rising of the moon. With your pike upon your shoulder, at the rising of the moon. Makes you want to jump up and grab a musket, doesn't it? Or, any sort of flintlock will do. A little Irish toast to you all. As you go through life, may the wind at your back always be your own. We're going to move down now to the second headquarters of the rebellion, down to County Wexford. And there was a leader of the rebels there. His name was John Kelly, and he came from the village of Killan in County Wexford. And John Kelly was very unusual. He'd actually be unusual today as well. He was about 6'5". He was considered a giant in those days, when the average height of a man was 5'6". And he had bright, blazing gold hair. And he was known as Kelly, the boy from Killan, and he was an inspiring leader in quite a few battles. What's the news, oh my bold Shelmalier, with your long-barreled gun of the sea? Say what wind from the south blows your messenger here, with a hymn of the dawn for the free. Goodly news, do I bring you the forth? Goodly news shall you hear, Bargy man. For the boys march at dawn from the south to the north, led by Kelly, the boy from Killan. Tell me who is the giant with the gold curling hair, he who rides at the head of your van. 7 feet is his height, with some inches to spare. He looks like a king in command. Oh my boys, that's the pride of the bold Shelmalier, amongst our greatest of heroes a man. Fling your beavers aloft, give 3 ringing cheers for John Kelly, the boy from Killan. And a score thieves in flames, and thou Wexford is won. Tomorrow the Barrow we cross. On a hill o'er the town they have planted a gun that will batter the gateways of Ross. All the 4th men and Bargy men will march o'er the heath, with brave Harvey to lead in the van. But the foremost of all in that grim gap of death will be Kelly, the boy from Killan. The gold sun of freedom grew darkened at Ross, it's set by the Slaney's red waves. Poor Wexford, stripped naked, hung high on a cross, her heart pierced by traitors and slaves. Glory, oh, to the brave sons who died for the cause of long downtrodden man. Glory, oh, to Mount Leinster's own darling and pride, dauntless Kelly, the boy from Killan. Dauntless Kelly, the boy from Killan. Thank you. There's another great song came out of the 1798 rebellion. It was written by a man called Thomas Davis, and it has been used ever since as a sort of unofficial national anthem, particularly up in the north, where the struggle is still going on for ultimate independence from England. The song is called A Nation Once Again. A lot of performers finish up their evening with this particular song, but since it fits right into the theme of the 78 rebellion, I'll do it for you now. When boyhood's fire was in my blood, I read of ancient freemen of Greece and Rome who bravely stood, 300 men and 3 men. And then I prayed I yet might see our fetters rent in twain, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again. And Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. As I grew from boy to man, I bent me to that bidding, each spirit of each selfish plan and cruel passion ridding. For thus I hope someday to see, nor shall such hopes be vain, when my dear country shall be made a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again. And Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. Now from that time through wildest woe, that hope has shone a firelight, nor could love's brightest summer glow outshine that solemn starlight. It seems to watch above my head through forum, field and fane, its angel voice sang round my bed, a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again. And Ireland long a province be, a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again. And Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. A wonderfully stirring song. You'll notice that a lot of these songs were written in march tempo, because it's a military tempo, and it sort of drove the men onwards when they would hear these songs being done. Going to move up to the rebellion of 1916, called the Easter Rebellion because it took place over Easter week. And as I said earlier, it was Ireland's first baby steps towards ultimate independence from England. Patrick Pearse, the spiritual director and father of the rebellion, gathered a handful of Irish patriots, rebels around him, the Irish Republican Brotherhood and the Irish Republican Army, to strike a blow for independence. And he got hold of an old song. It was an old Jacobite song, an Irish Jacobite song, not a Scottish Jacobite song, which is the more common kind. And he rewrote the words of it, and he wrote them in Irish. It's called O Roche de Vahawalya. And I'm going to try to teach you the chorus in Gaelic. I'm going to sing it in Gaelic, the way he wrote it. Maybe you'll try it with me. O Roche de Vahawalya. Excellent. O Roche de Vahawalya. One more time. O Roche de Vahawalya. Anish hacht an Tauri. Anish hacht an Tauri. Try it. Anish hacht an Tauri. And simply what it means is, O Roche de Vahawalya, welcome home. 3 times. Anish hacht an Tauri, now that summer has come. And the song is an allegorical ballad urging Ireland. And Ireland is in the form of an old woman, welcoming the old woman back home to Ireland to get Granuaile, who was one of our legendary heroines, a woman called Grace O'Malley. Her name translates into English as Grace O'Malley. And Grace O'Malley was known as the Pirate Queen of Connemara. She used to sail up and down the southwest coast of Ireland to loot, plunder, pillage and burn English ships. And she did very well at this, became quite wealthy and very powerful down in that area of Ireland. So much so that Elizabeth I put a price on her head. and sent some of her best sailors out to try and capture her. Men like Francis Drake and Lord Essex. And they did capture Granuaile, and they brought her to London to face Elizabeth, who was so taken by this fellow female warrior, this fellow female leader of men, that they let her go. And she went right back to the southwest coast of Ireland, where she continued to loot, plunder, pillage, and burn until her dying day. And the song basically says, "Welcome home, old woman, but Granuaile is coming to rescue us from the foreigner." And she's not going to have a Spanish army or a French army. She will have Irish warriors with her. And I hope to God that I live to see the day when we can sing about Granuaile's victory. That's essentially what the song says. So let's give it a shot here, and I want to hear you try and belt the chorus out with me. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. She the Vavan Bullin were they are grach to Ving Evan, the Guig of Ra, Shell of Merlach, is to the Ultalish Nagal ready. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. Try it on your own. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche, O Roche, and Isher Achtan Tauri. Tá Granuaile ag teachtar saile, óglaí armtha le mar garda, Gaelad héanas ní gáil ná Spáinní, is curthíru I gur gála. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. O Ilarí na bhart go bhecam, mana min bio in a dhéach seachtain, Granuaile agus míle gaisciach, ag tógart fáinar gála. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. She the Vavan Bullin were they are grach to Ving Evan, the Guig of Ra, Shell of Merlach, is to the Ultalish Nagal. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. On your own. O Roche. Yes. Together. O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, and Isher Achtan Tauri. Oh, give yourselves a round of applause. You didn't know you could speak Irish, did you? It's been a learning experience here this evening. Rebellions have to have recruiting songs so they can get people to join the rebellion. And this next one was one for the 16 Rebellion. The song is called Off to Dublin in the Green, written by Pater Carney, who was an uncle of Brendan Behan, the famous Irish author, playwright, and he wrote a song or two himself. But if you feel like clapping along, do so. If you feel like getting up and marching around, do so. Or you could be really, really Irish and go get yourselves a drink. Because Chaz is sitting over there doing nothing. I mean, put that boy to work. Serious. I mean, he does this so he can get out of working in Molly's tonight, you know. I am a I ploughed the fields all day, till a sudden thought came to my mind that I should roam away. I've always hated slavery since the day that I was born, and I'm off to join the IRA, and I'm off tomorrow morn. And we're all off to Dublin in the green, where the helmets glisten in the sun, where the bayonets flash and the rifles crash to the echo of a Thompson gun. I leave behind my pick and spade, I leave behind my plough, I leave behind my horse and yoke, for no more I will need them now. I'll take my Sharp's revolver and my bandolier of lead, and do or die I can but try to avenge my country's dead. And we're all off to Dublin in the green, where the helmets glisten in the sun, where the bayonets flash and the rifles crash to the echo of a Thompson gun. And when the war is over and dear old Ireland's free, I'll take Mary to the church to wed, and a rebel's wife she'll be. Some men fight for silver, and some men fight for gold, but the IRA are fighting for the land that the English stole. And we're all off to Dublin in the green, where the helmets glisten in the sun, where the bayonets flash and the rifles crash to the echo of a Thompson gun. And we're all off to Dublin in the green, where the helmets glisten in the sun, where the bayonets flash and the rifles crash to the echo of a Thompson gun. Thank you. Now, I mentioned earlier that Patrick Pearse gathered a handful of rebels around him to strike a blow for independence from England. Now, the Irish rebels were outnumbered by the English army, and they were captured, and the leaders were executed. The funny thing is, if the English hadn't executed the leaders, it would have been just another failed rising, would have been forgotten, and the English would probably still be there. But as it turned out, once they started executing the leaders, it came to world attention. Even here in the United States, there were protests against it, and pleas were sent to the English government not to execute them, but they did. And that really got the world turned against that whole thing. So, the youngest rebel was a man called Joseph Plunkett. Not the youngest, but he was one of the youngest in Patrick Pearse's inner circle. He was a teacher, poet, playwright, gentle young fella, and he was also a consumptive. And he left his sick bed, where he was very ill with consumption, to come and fight alongside Patrick Pearse in the GPO. That's the General Post Office in the middle of O'Connell Street in Dublin. And if you ever go to Ireland and you go visit the GPO, it's an absolutely magnificent building in the Roman style. And you can still see the bullet holes and the shell holes from the Easter Rebellion. But what the English did with Joseph Plunkett was different from the other rebels. At 2 o'clock in the morning, at 11 o'clock the night before he was due to be executed, they brought his fiancée, her name is Grace Gifford, into his prison cell in Kilmainham jail, where the rebels were all taken. And she got to see him for a couple of minutes, and then she was taken outside again. At 2 in the morning, brought him back in. There was a priest there, Father Eugene MacDonough, and he married the couple. They were allowed 10 minutes together, and then Grace was taken outside again to wait with the mothers, sisters, wives, and sweethearts. And then at dawn later that morning, Joseph was taken out to face the firing squad in the Breakers Yard in Kilmainham Jail in Dublin. If you ever get to Dublin, by the way, the Kilmainham Jail is an absolutely marvelous tour and historical site, well worth visiting. And I had the distinct honor of singing this next song about that very brief and very poignant marriage in Joseph's prison cell in Kilmainham when I had my tour group there a couple of years ago. I can tell you, there wasn't a dry eye there that day, including my own. As we gather in the chapel here in old Kilmainham Jail, I think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed from our school days? They have told us we must yearn for liberty. Yet all I want in this dark place is to have you here with me. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Now I know it's hard for you, my love, to ever understand the love I bear for these brave men, my love for this dear land. But when Patrick called me to his side down in the GPO, I had to leave my own sick bed. To him I had to go. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Now as the dawn is breaking, my heart is breaking too. On this May morn as I walk out, my thoughts will be of you. And I'll write some words upon the wall so everyone will know I loved so much that I could see his blood upon the rose. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. No, there won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Thank you very much indeed. Here's another 1916 song for you, and it's about a gentleman he was Scottish of Irish ancestry. He grew up in Edinburgh. His name was James Connolly, and he was a Labour leader, socialist, wonderful man altogether. And he's the one that got the Irish Republican Army together and fought for independence alongside Eamon de Valera and Patrick Pearse in the General Post Office. Now, he was so badly injured in the fighting, he'd been shot in the leg, his ankle was shattered, and he went for a week without treatment, and so he developed gangrene. When the rebels eventually surrendered to the English, and they were executed, as I said, in the yard in Kilmainham jail, James Connolly was unable to stand and face the firing squad, so they put him in a chair and they shot him there. This is the ballad of James Connolly. A great crowd had gathered outside of Kilmainham, their heads all uncovered, they knelt on the ground. For inside that grim prison lay a brave Irish soldier, his life for his country about to lay down. He went to his death like a true son of Ireland. The firing party he bravely did face. When the order rang out, present arms, fire, James Connolly fell into a ready-made grave. The black flag they hoisted, the cruel deed was over. Gone was a man who loved Ireland so well. There are no flowers blooming, but the shamrock is growing on the grave of James Connolly, the Irish rebel. Many years have rolled by since that Easter rebellion, when the guns of Britannia they loudly did speak, and the brave IRA stood shoulder to shoulder, while the blood from their bodies flowed down Sackville Street. God's curse on New England, you cruel-hearted monster. Your deeds, they would shame all the devils in hell. There are no flowers blooming, but the shamrock is growing o'er the grave of James Connolly, the Irish rebel. Sure, I'd like a pint of Guinness and a shot of whiskey, thank you. It might work. Yeah. Some nights it does, some nights it doesn't. Another casualty was, have you noticed that an awful lot of these songs aren't happy ones? You know, they're all about dead heroes dying for Ireland. I wish there was one about a couple of them that lived. But that's just me. Anyway, Kevin Barry was a really incredible song. He was a 20-year-old student at University College Dublin, and he also happened to be a member of the IRA, and he happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was an IRA little attack on some British soldiers, a truck full of British soldiers, and Kevin Barry wasn't involved in this particular attack. He was on his way to college with his books for class, and he just happened to be passing by when the attack took place, and he was captured. Regardless of his protests of his innocence, he was hanged by the neck until dead. Now, immediately after the execution, as always happens, somebody writes a song about the dead hero, and it becomes famous all over Ireland and beyond. When I was growing up in Belfast in the 50s and 60s, you could be arrested by the cops and sentenced to jail for singing this particular song. I know that for a fact. It's the ballad of Kevin Barry. In Mountjoy jail one Monday morning, high upon the gallows tree, Kevin Barry gave his young life for the cause of liberty. Just a lad of 18 summers, yet there's no one can deny, as he walked to death that morning, he proudly held his head on high, proudly standing to attention as he bade his last farewell to his broken-hearted mother, whose sad grief no man can tell, for the cause he proudly cherished. That sad parting had to be. So off to death went Kevin smiling, that one day Ireland might be free. Why not shoot me like a soldier? Do not hang me like a dog. For I fought to free my country on that bright September morn. All around that little bakery where we fought them hand to hand, why not shoot me like a soldier? For I fought to free Ireland. Another martyr for old Ireland, another murder for the crown, whose cruel laws may crush the Irish, but can't keep our spirits down. Lads like Barry are no cowards. From the foe they will not fly. Lads like Barry will Now, if you were paying close attention there, you'll notice that the words of the song that I sang had Kevin Barry actually taking part in the raid. And he didn't. That was a songwriter taking liberty with the actual facts in order to make Kevin out to be a warrior, a fighting hero of Ireland. So there you have it. The next one I'm going to do is my favorite Irish song. It's not really a rebel song so much. It was written by a priest, Canon Charles O'Neill, from the parish of Newcastle, County Down. He was originally from Belfast, from the Falls Road, where I'm from. And in the song, he asks the question, why did Irish men go off to fight in World War I in the British Army when they could have been at home fighting alongside Patrick Pearse for independence? Well, there's a pretty good reason. Winston Churchill recruited a couple of Irish politicians, the Redmond brothers, Liam and John Redmond, and he promised Irish home rule if Irishmen would join the British Army and go off and fight. These two Irish politicians, the Redmond brothers, they believed him. Their hearts were in it, actually, and they went around all over Ireland in the north and the south recruiting men for the British Army. My own grandfather, John Collins, joined the 6th Connacht Rangers, and he fought at the Battle of the Somme. He was cited for bravery, and he was eventually taken prisoner of war, and he'd been gassed as well, so his lungs were screwed up for the rest of his life as well. But these Irishmen believed the story, that they were going to get home rule if they fought for England. Of course, they didn't realize that other politicians were negotiating behind their back. Amongst them was Sir Edward Carson, who was a strict unionist and never wanted a united, separate, independent Ireland, and he was negotiating behind their backs to make sure this never happened. So most politicians speak with forked tongues, do they not? But my grandfather bought the story hook, line and sinker. Now the thing about the Catholics who went and fought, especially from the Falls Road in Belfast, when they came back to their homes, they were just totally shunned for having taken the king's shilling. So basically, they did the wrong thing for the right reasons, and they paid for it. And it's only within the last 5 years that the nationalist community has come to realize what these men did was of value. They did the wrong thing, but they meant the right thing. So all is forgiven. The song is called The Foggy Dew. Us bound the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I. Their armed lines of marching men in squadrons passed me by. No pipe did hum nor battle drum did sound its dread tattoo. But the Angelus bell o'er the Liffey swell rang out in the foggy dew. Right proudly high over Dublin town they flung out the flag of war. 'Twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than at Suvla or Sudelbar. And from the plains of royal Meath strong men came hurrying through, while Britannia's Huns with their long-range guns sailed in through the foggy dew. 'Twas Britannia bade our wild geese go, that small nations might be free. Their lonely graves are by Suvla's waves, or the fringes of the great North Sea. Oh, had they died by Pearse's side, or fought with Calbrew, their names we would keep where the Fenians sleep, 'neath the shroud of the the night fell black and the rifles crack made perfidious Albion reel. Mid the leaden rain 7 tongues of flame shone out o'er the lines of steel, and by each shining blade a prayer was said that to Ireland her sons would be true. And when morning broke, still the war flag shook out its folds in the foggy dew. As back through the glen I rode again, my heart with pain was sore. I parted then with brave Irishmen that I would ne'er see more. And to and fro in my dreams I go, I kneel and I pray for you. O slavery fled, O rebel dead, when you fell in the foggy dew. Thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's it from me for this evening. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat different presentation. My thanks to JP for having me here.
Thank you, Seamus. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Another round for Seamus Kennedy, folks. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break, do some switching around to the screen, and we'll be right back. In the meantime, get over to Molly's, get some drink, get some food. That shepherd's pie is amazing, Chaz. And also, Seamus has some CDs for sale over at the box office desk. Stop on by.
That one really, it's pretty mild. We're another 10 degrees colder. Yeah. The season's almost over. There's one more shower. Yeah. Christmas songs will be outside.
Everyone knows that God said, "Let there be light." But people don't talk about the miracle. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Just like that. Another miracle. Adam, the world's first inhabitant, was molded out of the earth. God created him simply. He could move and maybe even speak a little, but God wasn't done yet. So he whispered something into Adam's mouth. Chai, perhaps, life, and Adam woke up. See, in Judaism, words have power. The power to create. Remember that. Our story takes place in Prague. In the 16th century, the Holy Roman Emperor, Rudolph II, kept ordering attacks, trying to expel and massacre the Jews. Something that curiously always seemed to be happening to these people. The local rabbi, called the Maharal, wanted to do something to help, but he knew he couldn't fight. The people couldn't fight, so he remembered. He thought of light being spoken into existence, and of Adam rising out of the earth, incomplete. And the Maharal channeled the power of creation. If he couldn't save his people, he would make something that could. He gathered clay from the banks of the river and molded the clay into the form of a man. What good is a clay statue, you might ask? Well, like with Adam, there was one final step. It needed a Shem, a name. So, the Maharal wrote the word Emet, truth, on the golem's forehead. And the golem woke up. Of course, he was not as sophisticated as Adam. The Maharal didn't have that much power, for good reason. But the golem would do just fine. He was huge and fearsome and strong. He alighted upon the Jewish people's enemies. He fought for them. They created him, and he would defend them. As one of them, with the truth of his being. The golem was winning. He was keeping them safe. Here, the story diverges. Some people say the golem got out of control. He turned on the people and the town and the synagogue he was supposed to protect, no longer recognizing friend from foe. He knew only one truth, the truth for which he was created, to fight, destroy. Perhaps if the golem's forehead had been larger, the Maharal could have written more specific instructions. But now he was desperate. His creation had gone too far. He managed to get close to the golem. And he erased the first letter, the Aleph, of Emet from the golem's forehead. The golem was left with Met, dead. He melted back into the earth, into darkness. Other people say, and this is the version I like more, the golem became so powerful, so formidable, that the Holy Roman Emperor himself begged the Maharal to restrain it. Please. And in return, he would promise to protect the Jewish people of Prague from now on. That was the right thing to say, the correct words. The Maharal, feeling merciful, agreed. Rest, he told the golem. Peacefully, somewhere in the ghetto. Or maybe in the attic of the synagogue itself. And the golem slept. His work was done. But he's still there, waiting to be spoken back awake, just in case the Jews need a defender. You never know when you might need to bring something out of the darkness. Just remember to choose the right words.
Long ago, there was an old man and an old woman who lived as peasants and loved each other very much. The old man would work tirelessly cutting wood day after day to support him and his wife, while the old woman took care of the housework, tended their gardens, and made supper. The old couple prayed daily for a baby, but none ever came. One day, the old man went to cut wood, per usual, and the old woman went to the river base to wash clothes. One by one, she took her clothes out of her basket and rolled stones onto them in the cool river water. As she was hard at work, a giant peach came floating down the river. She had never seen a peach so big in all of her 60 years of living. She thought, "That peach must be so delicious. I will take it home to my husband as a special treat." She reached out her arm, but it was not long enough. She looked for a stick, but there were none to be found. And if she went looking for one, she would certainly lose the peach. Pausing to think about what to do, she remembered an old charm and clapped her hands as she chanted this song. Distant water is bitter, near water is sweet. Pass by the distant water, come into the sweet. Strangely enough, the peach floated closer and closer to the old woman until it stopped right at her feet. She hurried home. "This is certainly the largest peach I've ever seen," said the old man. He went to the kitchen to find a knife, when suddenly the peach split in two and a healthy young boy emerged. The couple fell silent in astonishment. "Don't be afraid. Heaven has had compassion on you. They have heard your cries for a child day and night, and I am sent to be your son." Upon hearing this news, the old man and old woman were delighted. They had indeed cried many, many nights in the hopes of receiving a child. The old man held the boy close to him, then the old woman, and they named him Momotaro, or son of a peach. Years quickly flew by, and Momotaro grew to be 15 years old. He grew into a fine young boy. He was the strongest and bravest of all the young men in the village, and had a heart full of courage. He was also very wise for his years. The old man taught him how to read and write, and the old woman taught him how to sing and the importance of hard work. And whenever possible, she would make him his favorite treat, millet dumplings. She made the best yarimasho in all of Japan. But one night, while Momotaro was eating his dumplings, demons and ogres called Oni came sailing down the river. They stole food and treasures from the villagers. They trampled the farmers' crops into the ground, and they ripped the fishermen's net apart just for fun. Momotaro came to his mother and said, "Mother, it is by strange chance we have become mother and son. Your goodness has run deeper than the river you found me in. I do not know how to thank you enough. When you are older, it will be your turn to take care of us. All will be equal. Before I begin to pay you back, I have one request. I will do whatever you wish, as you are quite different than other boys." "Then let me go away at once." The old woman was stunned. She replied, "You wish to leave your old father and mother and go away from your home? I will surely come back if you let me go now. I will stop the Oni from attacking our village because I want to repay your goodness. Pack up the rest of the dumplings from supper, and I will be on my way." The old woman thought it best to do as Momotaro wished. She packed up the remaining 4 dumplings, and after a quick goodbye to his mother and father, off he traveled to Ogashima, the island where the Oni resided. Along his journey, he met 3 brave, fierce, but hungry animals: a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant. With each encounter, the animals sang, "Momoto, Momoto, those millet dumplings on your waist, won't you give me one?" The song sounded sweet and familiar. It reminded him of his mother. Moved by the song, he gave each animal a millet dumpling. To return his generosity, each animal volunteered to join the brave Momotaro and trekked onward to Ogashima. On the day they finally arrived, they staked out the castle as they watched as the Oni feasted on roasted cows and bulls until they fell asleep. But Momotaro had a plan. They blew out all their lamps and then outnumbered them with a sneak attack! The pheasants swooped over their heads, pecking their faces, flying circles all around, so quick that they didn't know if they were being attacked by one bird or dozens. Then the monkey swooped in and out, weaving all around their ankles, biting their calves. Meanwhile, the dog barked and growled and attacked the Oni so viciously that they were no match. The Oni were too full to fight, and Momotaro knew that they stood no chance against him and his crew. And, thanks to have eaten the best millet dumplings in all of Japan, Momotaro's party had the strength of 1,000 people and had the ogres fearing for their lives. The king of the Oni made up his mind to surrender. He knelt to the ground and broke his horns out of submission, as did all the other Oni following the king's lead. "Please," he begged, "spare our lives and we will give you our treasure. And promise never to attack my village again." "We promise," sobbed the Oni king. They relit the lamps to find that they had been fooled by a young boy, pheasant, monkey, and dog. They felt so foolish that without another word, they fetched their treasure. Momotaro returned home and was made to be a hero as the country rejoiced that they are now freed from the evil band of devils. And as a warm thank you, he was able to keep the treasure the Oni gave him. The old couple had more joy than ever before, and his mother made yarimasho, and he and his new animal friends, alongside with his old mother and old father, shared a peaceful and delicious meal.
Long ago, there were two hero twins who were so brave and so smart that they defeated the sun. Well, not exactly the sun. You see, back in those times, there lived a great demon bird named Vucub Caquix, who was jealous of all the love and adoration that the sun received for providing light and warmth to the people. And so one day, Vucub Caquix flapped his great wings and pushed all the clouds in front of the sun so it could no longer shine on the people.
"I am your son now," he proclaimed, "and as long as you provide me with whatever I ask for, I will continue to shine light and warmth to all my beloved subjects. But even think about denying me, and I will take it away."
For you see, Vucub Caquix's many teeth were made of dazzling jewels, and he had positioned the clouds in such a way that only a single beam of light shone through, which reflected off his shining teeth and provided light to the world. Many years later, two young twin boys, Hunahpu and Ixbalanque, went out on a mission to try and reason with Vucub Caquix because they had had a hard winter and their mother couldn't meet his ever-increasing demands. They hoped that he might take pity on 2 young boys and allow her more time to collect her offering. And so the boys approached Vukub Caquix, sitting high up in his nest, and Hunahpu, the braver of the 2 boys, politely said, "Excuse us, O great and powerful Vukub Caquix. We come to you on behalf of our mother, who is unable to meet the demands of your offering this year."
Oh, really?
Vukub Caquix says, and he sweeps down, and in a flash of talons grabs hold of Hunahpu's arm. "Hey, let go!" Hunahpu shouts, struggling to free himself. But with a terrible ripping noise, Vukub Caquix tears off Hunahpu's arm and carries it back to his nest.
Well, looks like this will have to do for now. Tell your mother that you will have your arm back after she has paid her full amount.
Enraged at this terrible act, Ixbalanque lifted up his blowgun and shot a dart right into Vukub Caquix's monstrous face.
Ah! You cracked my beautiful teeth! How dare you strike he who provides you light! You shall never have your arm back now!
And with that, Vukub Caquix flapped his giant wings and blew the twin brothers far away from his nest. Defeated, the 2 boys started their long journey back home when Hunahpu was suddenly struck with a brilliant plan. Quickly, they raced all the way back to their village, where they changed into 2 very clever disguises they were sure would fool the evil bird. Unable to even recognize themselves, the twin boys grabbed a bag full of kernels of corn and rushed back out into the jungle. Their plan having been set in motion, the 2 boys once again approached Vukub Caquix, only this time in disguise. As they neared the nest, they heard the pitiful moans of the enormous bird, who appeared to be in great pain. "Oh, great Vukub Caquix," Ixbalanque said, "we heard tales throughout the jungle that you have been injured and are in need of some help."
Yes, please, Vukub Caquix moaned. I will give you anything you desire if you will help relieve this terrible pain.
"Well, as you can see," Ixbalanque continued, "my brother here lost his arm many years ago in a terrible accident. If there's any way that you can help him, we would be more than happy to fix whatever is causing you pain."
How delightful, Vukub Caquix said. I happen to have an extra arm right here, and it's nice and fresh too. Fix my dazzling teeth, and it is all yours.
"It is settled then," said Hunahpu. "Now, in order to fix you up, we will have to take out all of your teeth one by one, clean them with our magical healing water, and then replace them. It will be a painful process, but once it's done, it will be as though nothing ever happened."
Sounds perfect.
And with that, Vukub Caquix opened his mouth as wide as it could go. The twin brothers immediately set to work, one by one, ripping out all of the evil bird's teeth. And replacing them with the kernels of corn. Finally, the task was finished. "All right," Hunahpu said. "We're all finished now."
Wait, what's this? My teeth! They feel different! They feel weak!
"That's because we replaced them all with kernels of corn, you horrible demon!" shouted Ixbalanque as he and his brother ran from the creature.
Give them back or I'll make you pay!
screeched Vu Cupcakewix as he tried to follow them. But as he flapped his wings, he raised up a mighty wind that slowly pushed all of the clouds out from in front of the sun. Finally freed from years of imprisonment, the sun grabbed the giant bird in one of its beams.
You betrayed me, Vu Cupcakewix,
the sun said,
and for that you will be banished.
But without my teeth, I can't eat.
Then you will starve.
And with that, the sun threw the monster far away from this land, where he would never hurt anyone again.
Thank you, boys, for saving me,
the sun said.
I thought I would never be able to escape. How can I ever repay you?
Hunahpu timidly asked, Would you be able to reattach my arm?
Anything for you,
the sun said, and Hunahpu was suddenly filled to the brim with warmth and light as his arm reattached itself to him.
Now, if you ever need anything else, just say the word and I will be there.
They waved goodbye as the sun returned to the sky to shine and provide light and warmth to all of the people. And from then on, they would forever be known as the Hero Twins who defeated the sun.
Everyone knows the lion is the king of the jungle, but it wasn't always this way. In the beginning, the buffalo was the fiercest meat-eating hunter and king of the bush. All the animals trembled when they heard his hooves pounding the earth. He was the most feared animal on the plains. Even the mighty lion feared the buffalo. This is the tale of the brave lion who changed that forever and brought harmony to the bush. One hot sub-Saharan day, the strongest, greediest buffalo was out hunting and caught Lion resting in the shade of a tree. Buffalo was about to charge and kill Lion when Lion awoke and pleaded, "Spare my life, Buffalo, please! I have a family to feed. If you spare my life, I will be indebted to you and do anything you ask." Buffalo thought to himself for a moment. He didn't usually let animals live, but being as he was quite a lazy and greedy buffalo, he could see a way to use Lion. So he replied, "All right, you can live, if you bring me food whenever I tell you." Lion quickly agreed, and so Buffalo told Lion to catch a fat antelope grazing nearby. Lion did as he was asked and dragged his catch back to Buffalo, who ate the whole antelope without offering Lion a scrap. He sent Lion home hungry, without any food for Lion or Lion's family. As Buffalo settled down to take a long nap, he congratulated himself. "What a good bargain I made!" The next day, Buffalo ordered Lion to kill a zebra. Again, Lion went off and found a zebra. He watched Buffalo eat the kill without sharing any. Every day, Buffalo ordered Lion to catch him something and never shared any of the food. As months went by, Buffalo grew bigger and fatter and ate more and more until he was having 4 large meals a day. Lion had no time to do anything but hunt for Buffalo. He grabbed scraps of food for himself and his family when he could. He became thin and exhausted. His family grew weak and his cubs starved. Lion wondered how much longer he could go on. One day, Buffalo, whose appetite had become gigantic and who was so enormously fat that he could hardly move, called to Lion. "Come here, Lion! Lion! I want to have a feast. Catch me one of every animal in the bush," Lion cried. "Oh, that's impossible! Look at me! I'm thin and tired. Please, let me go hunt for my family. They are starving because I have no time to help them find food. I have hunted for you for months. It is enough now. Please, free me from my promise." Buffalo let out a mighty bellow, saying, "No, you cannot. You are indebted to me. I saved your life. You will go on serving me always, as will your family when you die. Now, go find me food as I ordered. I'm starving." Lion was enraged. He had served Buffalo well, done all he had asked, and now he was threatening his family? Just when Lion thought getting free from his servitude was hopeless, he had an idea. A gleam came into his eyes. He saw Buffalo for what he was, a slow, greedy thief who couldn't outrun Lion. Lion replied calmly, "You ordered me to catch you one of every animal in a bush?" "Yes, that's what I said." "You ordered me to serve you one of every animal in the bush, but I shall serve you to all the other animals in the bush." With that, Lion summoned all his remaining strength and leapt onto Buffalo's huge back and sank his fangs into Buffalo's neck. Buffalo fell to the ground, dead. It was not Buffalo who had a feast that day, but Lion, his wife, and his cub. They ate, and ate until they could not eat anymore, and shared the rest of Buffalo with their other lion friends. Because of Lion's courage and cleverness, he was able to outsmart Buffalo. As for the buffalo, they learned to only take what they needed from the land. They started to eat grass and never hunted again.
Growing up, my father told us many stories. This is one of my favorites. The story of the crazy woman's fork, as told by Iron Bull. Long ago, my people, the mighty Crow tribe, were at war with the Sioux tribe. We ruled the land from the Great Missouri River all the way to the Yellowstone River. No one dared enter our territory. We felt unstoppable. But I was there to watch it all fall apart. Though we were strong, our people turned wicked. We became greedy, believing the gifts of the land were ours for the taking, fighting with anyone and everyone who so much as stepped on our land. This angered the great spirits to act. They sent us the sun, but not the sun as we know it. The angry sun was upon us. It grew so hot that all the water in the land and rivers dried up. Animals left, crops would not grow, and women and children were dying. In this time, war persisted. They continued to pursue the enemy and keep growing their land. But the people were at their lowest. Hope was the only thing that they had. One night, the great medicine man of the tribe had a dream. In this dream, he was told to send the chiefs of the tribe to the river's fork. The next morning, they followed the river for many, many miles, until, at the fork, they found a woman in white waiting for them. They marveled at her. She spoke, "The great spirits sent me to speak on their behalf. You have made the spirits angry. You must make peace with the Sioux tribe, and your people will be saved." Peace was made between the Sioux and the Crow for the first time in 100 years. This was a wonderful accomplishment. Our tribes could now live in peace. On their journey back to the river's fork, the men were weary, for the land was still dry and no buffalo roamed. When they returned to the river's fork, the woman in white once more gave them instructions on how to help their people. She said, "Follow the mountain west until you reach Big Horn River. There, you will find a large rock. Shoot 3 arrows into the rock, and your people will be saved." As the men set off, one man turned around to get a last look at the woman in white. She was floating upwards in a beam of sunshine toward the heavens. The men were stunned. The great spirits work in mysterious ways. Their only hope of helping their people was to go westward. When they came to the large rock, one man drew his bow and fired 3 arrows. The first arrow sailed straight into the rock. The second flew over the mountains. Lastly, the third made a horribly loud sound. Boom! When the third arrow reached the ground, the heavens opened and shined upon the men. There was thunder and lightning dancing around the sky. Boom! Boom! Just where the lightning hit the ground, a large hole formed in the earth. From that hole came countless herds of buffalo spilling out. The rain poured down, and the men praised the Great Spirit. To this day, the story of the Crazy Lady's Fork is told to remind people to be hopeful. Even in the darkest times, peace will save the people.
This is the story of the Selkies, the Seal people that live to this day near the Orkney Islands of northern Scotland. There exists many different versions of their story, even stories that you may have heard before. Now, what makes the Selkies so special is that they have the ability to change from their natural seal form into that of a beautiful woman. They do this by shedding their seal skin when they choose to walk among us. However, the Selkies must have the skin if they're ever to return home again. This tale of the Selkie women of Orkney may end differently, but always begins the same. As the story goes, while bathing in a lake, the Selkie woman has their seal skin taken from them by a fisherman, who gives their word to return it if she will become their wife. In the first version, the fisherman threatens the Selkie into staying. She must obey if she's ever to see her home or her own children again. In the second, The man compromises to say that if she marries him, that he will return her skin so that she may occasionally visit home. But she was deceived. A tale within a tale. She pleads for the man to give something that was never theirs to have. The third man, upon finding the skin, sees the Selkie nearby. She had fallen from a rock and was injured greatly. The man brings her in her seal form home to care for her, to heal her. When she wakes the next morning, he too holds on to what is not his, forcing her to stay. She protests at first, but learns of his child, whose mother died giving birth to him. She stays for the child, a story we know all too well. Time passes. The world goes on. However, in the Selkie's new home, little changes. Every day staring out to the sea longingly, hoping to return to the place from which she was taken too soon. Until one day, when the man was gone, his own mother, who knows what it means to hold on to hope so tightly that it turns to dust in our hands, her own destiny ordained long ago. She decides against the will of her son that she will give the skin back to her new daughter so that she may return home. The Selkie runs off as quickly as she can. There isn't a moment to lose when so many have been already. An entire lifetime given back in an instant. When the man returns home, and his mother tells him what she's done, he leaves immediately on a journey to find her, bringing along their son to remind her of what she's leaving behind. In the end, she knows she must stay with her own people, her own children, knowing that the life she had been living was never hers, even if for a moment in time it felt like the only place she could belong. But upon seeing the boy she had grown to love, she gives her word that she will return once a year for their son, who had become one of her own as much as any of her children, to show him that home and hope can live under the same roof, and that the stars still shine bright, even when we can't see them.
Eons ago, Prometheus gifted the mortal world with fire, an element previously reserved only for the gods. The almighty Zeus, enraged by Prometheus's act, sentences him to eternal torment. He is chained to a rock, and his fate is to have his liver torn out by an eagle each and every day, just to have it grow back to suffer the same agony the next day. Zeus, looking to compound the punishment against Prometheus, and to punish humanity, who were now in possession of the fire formerly possessed only by the gods, asks the smith god Hephaestus, from whose very forge the fire had been stolen, to forge the first mortal woman out of clay. Athena, the goddess of war, born from the head of Zeus himself, brings this newly born woman first to Aphrodite, who gifted her beauty, and then to the messenger to the gods, Hermes, who taught her cunning. This first woman, born of clay and now possessing beauty and cunning, was named Pandora, all gifted. Pandora was taken to the mortal earth, where she was gifted to Prometheus's foolish brother, Epimetheus, as his bride. Despite Prometheus's warning against accepting gifts from the Olympians, he welcomes her, for she was too beautiful for him to deny her. With her, Pandora brought a gift, given to her by Zeus in celebration of her wedding. The gift was a small, intricately designed box. Thankful but confused, Pandora wondered what could possibly be inside. "You are to never open the box, Pandora," Zeus instructed her. "But why? How am I to accept a gift I have never seen?" she replied. "The box, regardless of what it may contain, is your gift. Have faith in the gods who created you. You are to never open the box." "Very well," she relents. "Thank you." Days passed in harmony, yet Pandora could not shake the sense that whatever was inside this box needed to be revealed. Perhaps out of sheer curiosity, perhaps out of defiance, perhaps due to some reason we may never know, and despite Zeus's concise warning, she opened the box. As the lid cracked, out poured evils of which the world had yet to bear witness to, shadows slinking and darting, sparks crackling and jolting, as newly born horrors were unleashed for the very first time. Pandora froze, staring in simultaneous wonder and horror at the sights manifesting before her, feeling an aura, energy, and weight, which prior to this inciting incident had yet to exist. She felt the inevitable understanding that the world was now forever changed, with no chance of turning back. As the last of the gray oozed from the edges of the box, she snapped it shut, as decisively as she had opened it, ending the chaos as suddenly as it had begun. It shook before it settled, and a yellow light leaked through the thin crack around the edge, flashing for just a few moments before fading, as the box once again fell still. Faced with this new reality, Pandora and the mortal earth at large, now cursed by the evils brought upon by the gods, had a collective choice to make. How would they face this plague of never-before-seen hardships? Would they succumb to the darkness, allowing it to cover and consume the earth? Or could they turn to the only thing which remained in the box, sent to their world from the gods, the ever-shining light of hope?